So we have this BMW M3N for a $600 detail. It's going to get an interior cleaning, a wash and wax, halo restoration, and an engine cleaning. The main thing that's really dirty was the exterior, so that's gonna really make a big difference. The engine is actually not that bad. The headlights aren't bad, but they definitely need to be revived. And the cool thing here is that like there's no polishing involved, there's no ceramic coating. It's a $600 detail for not basic services, but for services that 99% of detailers can do. So if you think like, oh, the only way to make money is if you do a correction coating or you do this weird thing or you have to go into tint, it's like, no, like if you just get the right kind of customer that appreciates their vehicle, that values the kind of services you offer, you can we've done $800, $900 details that have no polishing included because of the size of the vehicle, the condition of the vehicle. So even with your interior cleanings, like we charge, you know, $300, $600, $900. So don't think you have to like, oh, the only way to charge higher rates is by doing this other thing. Like it's really not. Also, for those just getting started with your detailing business, you can click the link down below and download the ultimate guide to start your detailing business. There's over 10,000 words of pure content in that guide to help you start and grow. Download it, read it, implement it, and go start your business.
Be like how social media detailers be like.
So with a job like this that has 4 services, we typically start with the interior. That's like 9 out of 10 times that's gonna happen. So on this one, there was nothing crazy. The floor mats were probably the worst thing we cleaned. Aside from that, it was a pretty standard, straightforward interior detail. We went on lunch and now we're back here. Lex and Angel are gonna start on the headlights and engine, and then I'm just gonna do what I can on the rest of the vehicle. Now we are backtracked a bit on this car. One, the customer arrived like 15 minutes late just because he wasn't familiar with the area. Then Lex was talking to the customer, going over some details. And then Lex went back to the office to make some calls and respond to some emails because there was like a high lead flow, so we kind of want to get those before and when, you know, not wait to the end of the day. So right now, they're gonna do that. I'll start on the other part of the vehicle. Now when it comes to pricing, we gave this customer set prices for 3 of the 4 services. The only one that didn't get a set price and it was a price range was the interior cleaning. Just because we give them a price range, that way like they get a ballpark of what it's gonna be, but we give them a specific number once we see the car in person. And like with us, like we don't wait to see the car in person to give them a price. It causes too much friction. And it's one of those things where like, if we're too expensive, I'd rather let the customer know sooner than later. That way we don't waste each other's time, right? If I say, oh, hey, customer, like, you know, you have to come in and let us inspect the car in person, right? Before we give you any prices. And then they get here and we tell them, hey, the wash will be 50. They're like, oh, no, that's way too expensive. Well, we just wasted their time and ours. So for us, I do like sharing the prices over the phone. Again, like general price point, depending on the service. That way, just if we're in their ballpark, then we can move forward. If not, then hey, we're too expensive. Like, thank you. We get on the next call and book in the next customer. So before I start to wash the vehicle, I first pre-sprayed the exterior with the same degreaser for the wheels. That way, it breaks down the grime. Gonna rinse it down, and then I'll probably end up doing a rinseless wash because once you take off that top level, it's not gonna be that bad. And then clay, and then wax. But right now, they just finished up the headlights, and then now they're going to clean, and the engine's not that bad. They're gonna clean the engine, and then we'll all rendezvous on the exterior.
Oh.
Gotta clean that.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so now we have cleaned the emblems, we have iron removed it, we rinsed it, and now we're going to clay it and keep the process moving. The last few steps are to rinse, dry, and then to apply the dressing on the tires, apply the sealants to the paint, do the touch-ups around the vehicle, clean the glass, and then we're all set and done. I didn't get much afters, but the customer came, picked up the vehicle, Lex talked to him about it, he was happy, he paid, and then he left. Now here's where the customer was upset, where that same evening or this morning, it's the next day right now, the customer texted us with two things that he was unhappy about. Is he did ask us to remove the license plate and the frame. Now, we did remove the license plate and the frame, but he also meant like the back part to it, which we didn't really like. It was a miscommunication on both ours, because we didn't know he meant like take out the whole license plate backing thing. So he wanted that removed, and he removed it at his house, and it was still dirty back there. So that was a little miscommunication. And again, like we don't get asked to do that, so you know we thought like, oh, just take off that and the license plate frame, and that's what he means, right? So I don't know, he meant like to take off the whole thing. And then two, when we put the license plate back in, when we put the license plate in the glove compartment, it slightly scratched the fabric material. Now, again, like, could we confirm that that scratch was there or not there before we put the license plates? I mean, you know, we inspect the vehicle, but we don't check every single last little nook and cranny of like every single last little minute scratch or blemish that might be in the interior, right? You look at the obvious things. So no, I couldn't confirm it, right? But whenever anything bad happens, and I wouldn't say this is bad, but when the customer is upset at any point, you don't lose a customer just because you make a mistake, right? You lose a customer in the way that you react to the mistake that you made. So if the customer texts us, we're like, hey, if you bring it back by the shop again, we'll clean it, polish it, the trunk area. And then we ask the customer, like, what would you like to do? How would you like to proceed forward with the glove compartment? Because I just like, does he want us to replace it, or does he not care about it? He just wanted to kind of vent his feelings towards us, or like, what does he want to do? Because I'm not sure what he wants. Because it's a very small little scratch, and the interior, the exterior, it's not in like pristine condition by any means. So the way you handle yourself and the situation is what makes or breaks it, right? So if we would have responded with, hey man, yeah, so we didn't do that scratch there, man, that wasn't us, right? And if we were like, hey, by the way, man, like, you know, the rest of your vehicle is not in good condition, you have a bunch of paint chips and your leather is already tearing and this is already breaking, so you know that wasn't us at all. Like if we came with that attitude, that makes the customer even more upset, even more mad. And again, like, and this is really contextual to the customer, to the situation. Like if they are claiming like, hey man, like now my car doesn't want to start, it's like, all right bro, well that's kind of not, we know, like we did an exterior polish and you're complaining about the end, like, you know. So it's gonna be a very case-by-case thing. But if you respond very, you know, equally matching, like not matching, but if you're also like very hostile and you're defensive, that's just gonna escalate the process, the situation more. So instead we say, hey, you know, bring it back, and we've applied the same method to other customers, right? When we did a vinyl wrap and they said, hey, there's bubbles coming up on the film, we immediately reply, say, hey, whenever you get the chance, swing by the shop, we'll take care of it, no problem. If we miss the area, we're like, hey, bring it back, or hey, we'll whatever. So it's being very proactive with the situation. So we simply told the customer, like, hey, if you bring it back and we'll touch up the license plate area, and then how would you like to proceed with the glove compartment? Because I don't know exactly what he wants us to do, so I want to see what he wants, and then we'll go from there. So we're still waiting for the customer to reply. And remember, when a customer is upset, you haven't lost the customer. You can build an even better, stronger relationship with that customer when you're proactive about managing and handling the situation, right? Like if we take 2 days to respond, if we're hostile when we respond to him, if we don't want to take care of the problem, that customer will be super mad, will leave a bad review, and will tell more people that they shouldn't do business with us. But if we respond instantly, we offer a solution, and we hear them out, that's like, oh man, like, okay, I had a problem, and like typically when I deal with businesses, like, they kind of shoo me away, or they're not really proactive and they don't really care about it. But man, these people, like, they wanted to get it done, like they wanted to get it done right. So props to them. That's how you build a relationship when things don't go as planned. Again, I'm not gonna say this is like a big deal. Like, it's not. Like, we've probably we've gone through worse situations, and even those situations were like absolutely fine as well. So that's gonna end the video right here. Let me know what you would think down below, and I'll talk to you on the next one.